Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Snippy Joker, and on today's episode we are updating the base damage of each character after Season 2. Well, technically we're just updating the ones that have a slight change to their damage now that Season 2 is here. And if you watched my previous 3 videos on tanks, then healers, then DPS, this is based on their base damage. I know I just repeated myself. Just follow along. Now, that means that we're not following the abilities that are on the bottom right of my screen. We're just following what the character can do on the bottom left. So for Thor, that's just his regular, good old-fashioned hammer swing. So if we went up to the body, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, he does about 6 swings with base damage, no buffs, no debuffs, no abilities. He does it in 6, and that's for the body and the head. And what we're doing today is I went through all of the characters, which was a lot, and update you guys on who has seen the change and what position they now hold compared to the rankings we already did in my previous videos. So if you want to see my previous videos, just go to my channel and go to my Marvels playlist. If not, you can watch today and just hear what I have to say about the changes of those characters. Let's begin. For the tanks, the only character that had the biggest change is a debuff to Doctor Strange. Also, I'd like to apologize if I sound nasally. It's because it's allergy season and pollen and me are not best friends. So again, I apologize. I'm trying to do my best to clear myself before I begin these videos, but it seems that it catches up to me no matter what. Anyways, that's beside the point. Doctor Strange did get a debuff. I did look at the patch notes. His main attack, which again is on the bottom left, which is this attack right here, went from doing 18 damage per shot to about 16. Now, in my original video, he did a body shot in about 3 and a headshot in about 2. And in the update, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he does a body shot in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a headshot in about 4. So that pretty much now ties him with Magneto, who hasn't really had a change, to do about 4 overall. So in the tanks, if you're doing a shooter style, you could either choose Magneto or Strange because both of them do the same amount of damage. The only difference is that, again, Strange has this defensive shield that does 800, takes 800 damage. So it depends on you. If you like Strange, he does do less damage. If you like Magneto, they do about the same now, so either choice is a good choice. But if you're looking for the overall damage, like I said in my video, the #1 pick was Venom, who still does 3 to the body and 2 to the head. I forgot to mention the other change is Penny Parker, which got a buff to her headshot damage. So what I mean by that is, in my previous video, Penny can take out a character in about 9 hits. Now, this was to the head and the body. 9 hits. Now, if you aim for the head on a character, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can take him out in about 6. So I forgot that Penny was the other change in the tank range, but still is lower in damage than Doctor Strange and Magneto. But having that extra headshot damage is great. But the good news is she's still better than Banner, who still does it in 16. And of course, the other newest member to the team, Emma Frost, Miss Thickums herself. Now, Emma Frost is hard to calculate because hers is a continuous damage that, as you see in the center of the screen, as it gets higher, the more damage you do. So on average, when you're at 100, you're killing someone down with continuous damage in about 5 or 6 seconds. But if you're only doing it where you get like a little bit at a time, it can take a while, and I believe I calculated around 12 or 13 individual shots. Again, she's a mid to close range type of character, and she does continuous damage, which, like Scarlet Witch, is hard to calculate because you have either melee or a shooter, where a shooter you can calculate per shot, a melee you can calculate per hit. With continuous damage, you have to do it by time. So, like Scarlet Witch, she does it in about 5 or 6 seconds. So if you like that type of style of gameplay and you're looking for that type of damage where you need to be on top of the character, Emma Frost is for you. Now, for healers, which was the other second group we did on my channel, there really wasn't that much of a change. Everyone still did the same amount of base damage to the body and head, and the top three were Luna Snow, which everyone still likes to pick, and look at this outfit, so shiny, so pretty. Or Adam Warlock, which the only really debuff I saw was his soul bond was delayed by 10 seconds, which does stink, but he still does the same amount of damage and he can still heal and revive you. I think he revives you even more with 30% of your health instead of just 100 health, which again, based on your character, is better than none. And then the other one was Mantis, which I didn't think I saw any debuffs or buffs to Mantis, but again, all three of these characters are still doing the same amount of base damage. They're still great healers, and depending on the style of healing, depends on the character you choose in this section.
Show you how it's done.
Now, again, I said in my previous video, DPS is probably somewhat of a more challenging way to calculate because certain characters, like the Punisher, have alternative weapons. So again, base damage wise, the Torch only has his base damage here, but the Punisher not only has his assault rifle, but he has a shotgun. Hawkeye not only has his regular arrows, has explosive. So we'll start with the less complicated of the group, the Flyers. Flyers really had no change. I mean, Storm still does it in about, I believe, 5 or 4, depending on if you're in wind or lightning mode. It's still pretty good. Iron Man still does it in about 3, and Torch, actually, I did notice that Torch, come on, Torch, work with me here. Work with me here, buddy. Still does it pretty well at a good range. So 1, 2, 3. So I did notice that his range of effectiveness may have increased with his attack. So what I mean by that is it's still... Oh, I guess he was low on health. I was like, that's not possible. 1, 2, 3. He still does it in 3, but at a little bit of a greater distance because before I felt like his cluster kind of drops off a little bit. So he still does it about 3 and 2, body 3, head 2. So Torch still takes it for the Flyers. Now, when it comes to the melee section, there were some buffs, like with Iron Fist, Mr. Fantastic, was anyone? I think Wolverine may have had a buff. However, when I did Iron Fist, his base damage without any abilities, without any buffs or debuffs, still only does 7. Yes, he's still a threat. Yes, I've seen he's still a pain in the butt and probably more than before, but I think that's because of his buffs to his abilities, not his base damage. However, Mr. Fantastic, when we first tested him out, did his damage, his base damage, in about 5. Now, oh, it'd be nice if I actually hit the character. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he does it in 4. And in my previous video, you noticed that he did it in 4 when he was buffed up, but now even in buffed up form and in regular form, he's taking down the enemy in 4 hits. So on average, it's about 4, which now ties him for the #1 position with Magic, who also does it in 4. The only other thing I noticed that was different with the melee characters is Wolverine. Wolverine, who previously I calculated, and maybe I calculated it wrong, did it in 12 in his normal form. Now he does it in 11. However, and again, maybe I just miscalculated, when he's enraged, he does it in about 9, where previously he did it in about 7. So he may be more balanced in his attacks when it comes to normal and enraged mode. Now, the most complicated group is the shooters, and I redid all the stats, and it may be due to the buffs, debuffs, whatever the case may be, but I made a boo-boo in my video. I put Hawkeye at tied for number 3. That is wrong. I apologize, but Hawkeye, even with whatever they did to him, whether the buffs or not, is now considered like a #1 pick in the shooter range. Because if you fully charge him, his arrow, to the body, it does it in 2. And now he has a quicker charge thanks to the buffs and the patches. And if you get a nice clean headshot, which I will never get, unless I get lucky, you do it in 1. Now, if you're not fully charged, He does a body shot in about 5, right? And then headshot, I believe it's about 2. So on average, if I did this right, you're doing it about 3.5 to 1.5 damage. 3.5 shots to the body, 1.5 shots to the head. And if you switch over to his lovely grenades, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. Yes, you're doing it about 5. But I had to calculate how well he would do with not only, his grenades, but most people don't use those, or a lot of people don't use those. But if you averaged out the overall, so if you take 3.5, 1.5 to body and head, put them together and just give me a solid number, it's about 2.5, which the only other characters that do on average about 2.5 are the other number 1 characters that are Moon Knight, Black Widow, and Psylocke, which again are all shooters. So technically he's on par with those other characters, which puts him in the number 1 spot. So I was wrong with my calculation how I did this before, so I redid it. Number 2, it's still Namor, Hela, and Winter Soldier. They do it again about, what I have them as, hold on one second. I think it's 4 and 2. So on average, if you put those two together and divide it, it's 3, which is lower than Hawkeye, because again, every time I did Hawkeye's numbers, he was moving up from spot to spot. Number 3 is Squirrel Girl, because on average, Squirrel Girl does it in 3. So the reason I put her there is because 4 and 2 is 6, those 3 and 3. However, because the other characters do headshots in 2, they kind of have a slight edge over Squirrel Girl because she does it 3 to the body and head. And sadly, after Squirrel Girl is the Punisher. The Punisher was a little bit harder because the Punisher does 14 individual bullets to the body, 7 individual bullets to the head. And the shotgun, as long as you're close, does it 2 and 2. So on average, the Punisher could be doing anywhere from 8 to the body and 4.5 to the head, depending on the gun you use and if you're quickly swapping. So really, he's moving down the list. Everyone else, like Spider-Man, Star-Lord, they're all the same. So at the end of the day, who would be the number 1 overall DPS character? Who would be the number 1 overall character in general in accordance to damage? That is based on you and your playstyle. Like for me, I wouldn't be able to do Hawkeye because my aim is not good enough to get this locked down and get a headshot. Because if I'm jumping around like that and trying to aim, well, it's just not going to end well because I know I'm going to miss. So I need a character that's more like the Punisher, who I can spray and pray. Or someone like Iron Man, who I feel has good splash damage. So when you look at the numbers, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Black Widow, Psylocke, I've tried them all. It depends on the difficulty ratings, right? Hawkeye's a 4-star. Psylocke, who I've been trying to get better with, is a 5-star. Black Widow is a 4-star. Moon Knight is a 3-star. Human Torch, who's the better of the Flyers, is a 3-star. So for beginners, it may come down to Moon Knight and Human Torch. But overall, if you're good with Hawkeye and Black Widow, it may come down to Hawkeye or Black Widow. Or Psylocke if you want to do ninja style, where you go from the shadows and take out the backline. It depends on you. I mean, the stats are there. I've given you the numbers. Now you just go out there and practice with these characters and become a better you. So if you like what you see, sub for more, like the video, and put your comments on your favorite characters or which character you want to choose. And at the end of the day, we're going to keep going. This was just phase 1. We're going on to phase 2, which is movement speed, and then phase 3, which we'll mention after phase 2 is over. And then we're going to do overall based on a scoring system. But again, at the end of the day, it's based on you. If you want more single-player content, please check out Snippy Joker 2.0. If you want short-form content, Snippy Joker Shorts. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Snippy Joker. Appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.